Hi, this is Dr. Cynthia Wong. She is the chairperson at the University of Iowa. It's great having you here today. And for those of us who may not know you very well, can you please give us a little brief description about yourself?
Sure. Good morning, Dr. Fernandez. Thanks for inviting me to do this. So, as Allison said, I am the chair of the Department of Anesthesia at the University of Iowa. I've been here a little over 5 years. I started my training quite a while ago in Chicago. I'm a native Chicagoan, and I went to medical school and trained in Chicago and then worked at Northwestern for many years and moved to Iowa about 5.5 years ago. I'm kind of a Midwest person. My anesthesia specialty is obstetric anesthesiology, and that's where I spend a good deal of my clinical time.
Well, thank you. It's, again, an honor to have you. As a young attending, did you always know that you were going to pursue an academic career?
Yeah, I always knew that I was going to work in an academic institution. I'm not sure I had the academic career thing mapped out in my mind, but I enjoyed the give and take and the learning that went on at an academic institution. There are lots of academic institutions in Chicago. I was married at the time, and my husband owned a business in Chicago, so I knew I wasn't moving from Chicago. And so it never really occurred to me that I would go into private practice. I just always thought that I would practice in an academic institution because of the stimulation and the learning and the complex care that goes on in academic institutions.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And I'm sure that's common for all of us. We don't know where our path is going to take us. But what was the switch, I guess, when you were like, okay, I'm going to maybe move on to more leadership roles?
Yeah, I think the switch is that my chair actually asked me to take on a leadership role at a relatively young age. And I wouldn't have thought of it myself. I am still amazed that he must have recognized something in me to ask me to do this. So that I learned is the mark of a good leader, is you recognize leadership in other people. But there was an area of our department that needed some work, I'll say, and he asked me to take it on. I'm not sure that I would have labeled myself as the obvious person to do it, but he must have saw something and he asked me to do it, and I took it on, and it sort of went from there. And that was the section chief for the OB anesthesia section at Northwestern, which you may know Northwestern has a very large women's hospital. So it was actually quite a big undertaking. And during the time I was section chief, we moved to a much larger building. The service grew from 6,000 deliveries to 13,000 deliveries. I worked with very active maternal fetal medicine colleagues with an active research agenda. So it was a huge growing opportunity for me that I didn't think of myself. Actually.
I've noticed that in talking to other women who've ended up in leadership positions, that they were recognized by someone else and have become successful. So they had like a sponsor per se. And I guess what leadership qualities helped you grow as you've progressed through your career?
I think leadership and growing in general, and not just leadership, is recognizing opportunities. So there are constantly things that need to be done better, and I've always wanted to make things better, right? And so I just tried to figure out ways to make things better, and I think that resulted in leadership because I was leading to make things better.
Mm-hmm. What are the two biggest obstacles you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I had a hard time figuring out what that was. And I guess the biggest obstacle is that I can't manufacture time. I can't manufacture money. And a lot of things that we want to do take time and money. And so still haven't figured out how to do that. There are lots of little tricks that one learns along the way on how to manage time and make time more useful. The same thing is true with money. So I think those are the two biggest obstacles.
What tricks have you used to manage time? Because that is a big issue for so many people.
Yeah, it's huge. And, I think part of it is just recognizing that time is finite and you can't do everything. But a lot of it is having good help, both at work and at home. So I raised 4 daughters with my husband. My husband was extremely supportive the whole time, could not have had my career without him. I also had a child care provider who was with us for over 20 years, who helped raise my children, and couldn't have done it without her. I think my children are better people for having her in their lives. She's like their third grandma, and she's still in our lives. But I certainly could not have done what I had done without the support of people in my family and at home. And the same thing is true at work. We're surrounded by people. We function as teams, and learning how to work as a team and making use of your team, I think, is critically important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really great advice, actually, for both ends. I think a lot of people just focus on the help at home and not realizing that you need help at work.
And then I think one piece of advice I heard a while back is that you should try to make the goals of your worlds overlap, right? And people may think my family's here and my work is here and I can't mix the two, but you can mix the two. I took my kids on a lot of meeting trips with me. They used to come to my office after school and do their homework and just sit at my table and do their homework. I was in and out. I wasn't really paying attention to them, but they were with me, right? And so there are ways to make your worlds overlap to the benefit of both, I think, that maybe we don't make use of often enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a great idea. Like, I feel like that's not really highlighted or mentioned. So thank you for that. It's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure having this wonderful conversation with you today.
Thank you for asking me to participate. I appreciate it.